Good morning, Calvary Warriors. I'm so excited to be here this morning with you guys. A lot of exciting things going on at Calvary right now. I'm dressed in blackout because as soon as assembly's over, I'm headed down to Joplin. Maybe a couple of you are headed down there as well. There will be a watch party today at 2 o'clock in the cafe if you want to watch the game. But I'm also really excited that we get to celebrate our students today in numerous different ways. Today we're going to celebrate what God's doing in our students' lives academically first, and the Dean's Awards for fall semester. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Bittner.
Before we do this, let's go ahead and pray. Father, we just thank you for this morning and for the time that we have and to come together for this event here, as well as for the chance that the men have to play basketball at the national level today. And we give you praise and glory and honor for that. We pray that that would be a great event for them, a great experience. We thank you for the student scholars that we have at Calvary and the recognition of those this morning. And we just thank you for your blessing on all of us, especially this past year and the challenges that everyone has faced. But we give all the glory and all the praise to you in Jesus' holy name. Amen. Okay, one of the privileges I have as the academic dean is to be able to recognize students who excel and to share that with you guys. So this morning what we're going to do is to recognize as Dean Josh said, the Dean's List students from fall semester 2020, a semester that everyone will remember the rest of their lives. So as I call your name, go ahead and come on up, and you can clap for them individually. The first one is Juliana Binder. Congratulations. Thank you. And we're not shaking hands this morning, sorry. Emma Cathcart. And there will be some who are not here. Noah Cox. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. Amanda Davis. Jera Green. Oops, not here. Amanda Harmon. Okay. Seth Hauer. I get to keep these. Taylor Hunter. Ashley Hughesby. Yeah, she's stuck behind the stage. She can't come out. Mary Link. Congratulations. Abigail LePage. Congratulations. Thomas Major. Bethel Manson. I think a lot of these people may be in Joplin this morning for some strange reason. Trevor McGee. Ethan Morick. Grace Murphy. Congratulations. Got to find my place again. Alyssa Payne. Congratulations. Daniel Pitts. Congratulations. Faith Robinson. Oh, she's here. Congratulations. Ronald Shea. Victoria Stair. Lydia Stahlcup. Josiah Stout. Thank you. Congratulations. Mariah Strickland. Abigail Cheddar. Yeah, she's stuck in the back too, so she can't come out either. Julie Vanderwoody. I'll make you come around. Congratulations. Tobias Welling. And Aiden Wilson. And that, I believe, is it. I failed to mention what the Dean's List is all about. So in order to be able to be on the list, you must maintain a 4.0 average with at least a minimum of 12 credit hours for the entire semester. So this is not something that's easy to do. And again, congratulations to all of you who received the award today. And God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Bittner. And secondly today, I'm so excited that we get to celebrate our theater department, and I'm going to hand it over to the chair of our theater department, Kenneth England.
Hello, everybody. So we're very excited in the theater department to be putting on the musical of The Fantastics this year. And as I start talking, actors can come out and start setting the stage. We're going to do a song from this show for you so you can kind of see what it's all about and hopefully whet your appetite so you'll come and watch the show with us. So The Fantastics is, in essence, a coming-of-age story with a cast of really wacky characters. For instance, we have a very mysterious Spanish gentleman that nobody is quite sure what he's up to, named El Gallo, played by Mike Burke. We have a couple of very wacky, out-of-work, geriatric Shakespearean players who show up randomly, played by Mary Lank and Logan Hiskey. And then we have the lovers, who are not quite in their right mind, named Louisa and Matt, played by Rebecca Harms, and I just forgot your name, Adam Weeks. But in our song today, we have a couple more characters. We have the mutes, who are in the back. And the mutes are very magical characters because they actually aren't part of the story. They don't talk, but they magically change the set into whatever we need to happen. They play such wonderful set pieces as a wall. So Leah is a wall at one point. And Esther, our other mute, she is a tree at 2 points in this story. And so they never speak, but they are always very invested in this story as they help tell it, not from an acting standpoint, but from helping with all the technical aspects. And so they have a very magical air about them. Then we have our mothers, played by Abigail and Ashley. And our mothers are, they struggle with their not quite sane children, but they have discovered the method for correct parenting. So if you ever want to be a parent, listen to the song and take the advice. Wink, wink.
Fantastics.
Geese.
How clever we are.
How crafty to know.
To manipulate children.
You merely say.
No. Oh, dogs got to bark, mules got to bray. Soldiers must fight and preachers must pray. And children, I guess, must get their own way. The minute that you say no, Why did the kids pour jam on the cat? Raspberry jam all over the cat. Why should the kids do something like that when all that we said was no? My son was once afraid to swim, the water made him wince, until I said he mustn't swim. Been swimming ever since, been swimming ever since. Oh, dogs got to bark, mules got to bray, soldiers must fight and preachers must pray, and children, I guess, must get their own way the minute that you say no. Why did the kids put beans in their ears? No one can hear with beans in their ears. After a while the reason appears. They did it 'cause we said no. Your daughter brings a young man in, says, do you like him, Ma? Just tell her he's a fool, and then you've got a son-in-law. You've got a son-in-law. Oh, sure as the June comes right after May, sure as the night comes right after day, you can be sure the devil's to pay the minute that you say no. Make sure you never say no.
Now what we gonna do?
I'm waiting. Take another bow. All right. This is a very fun song. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But this is only one of many, 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 many songs of equal caliber. So we really hope you come see the show. So now, that's all we have for you. We don't want to give away too much because no. You need to come see the show because there are so many twists and surprises that we don't want to give them away. And so we can't share too much because then it'll ruin the experience when you come and see the whole show. But now we're going to talk a little bit more about just the show, The Fantastics, and why Calvary chose to do it, why we chose to do it here at Calvary. And so why it's important and what we can get out of it and how it connects with our Christian life. So to start this off, I'm going to ask Logan to come up. And he's going to share, Logan is our dramaturg. And that is a fancy word for saying he did all the research to tell us about all the fancy history of the show, as well as influences of the show, like what the show might be based on, as well as its performance history. And so he's going to share a little bit about how The Fantastics as a musical came to be. And it's a very interesting story.
Wonderful, thank you. Should I be sitting on a bench here or something? Or I don't know. I'll pull up a trunk. Yeah, pull up a trunk. That'll be better. Perfect. I'll sit in the trunk here. So let me pull up a little bit of my notes here that I have. So how it started out is the crazy thing is if you didn't know, The Fantastics is the world's longest-running musical and is the longest-running production of any genre in American theater history. Its initial run had over 21,000 productions just in its initial time of well over 40 years. So the creator, Tom Jones, he initially had this idea of making this huge, big, spectacle of a Rodgers and Hammerstein production. Those of you who don't know, they were this composer duo back in the day. They made really big stuff like Oklahoma, I think a Broadway version of Sound of Music. So he's wanting to do that, huge set pieces, huge ensembles, and production value like that. And it was set in the American Southwest, and it was called, funny enough, it was called Joy Comes to Dead Horse. Not sure why, but it was just a really weird title. And it was based off this play called Le Romanesque. I don't know, I'm probably totally butchering the French there, by this guy named Edmond Rostand. He's best known for doing Cyrano de Bergerac. He wrote, which is translated, this Le Romanesque is The Romancers, which is basically like a spoof of Romeo and Juliet and some other kind of Shakespeare and other romances of the day. It was supposed to be this huge event, like they said, but that really didn't fall through for him, so he teamed up with Harvey Schmidt, the man who made the music, and so they collaborated, And they started to make this more smaller production of it, more condensed, of the adaptation of the Romancers. And then that's how the Fantastics was born. And if you're wondering kind of why it's called the Fantastics, why is it with a K? It's because actually the translation, Tom Jones found a translation of the Fantastics, or of the Romancers, the Rostand play. It was called the Fantastics with a K. He saw an adaptation and translation that had it called the Fantastics with a K. I think it has something to do with like the French translation, but don't take my word for it completely there. But I think that's what it had meant. And then it was born, and it started as a really simple one-act production. But then it became, on 1960, it started in an off-Broadway theater, and it started with decent success. But then it just slowly started building this insane following, and it was a ginormous hit. Its original run was all the way from 1960 to 2002. Just think of all like American history that had happened all through that time. There was a couple instances actually in the 80s and 90s too, I think, that they were going to stop it, but the demand for the show was so huge that they kept on going through with it. But then I think the producer got kind of ill and was getting older, and so they stopped it around in the 2000s. But recently it saw a revival in 2006 that lasted all the way up to about 2017. It's crazy enough, it's been produced thousands of shows all across the world in multiple different languages, over 60 different countries, and it's been in every single state of the U.S. And yeah, I think that's kind of all I've got about now. Kind of the reason for why it's lasting, I think I'll probably throw that over to Kenneth for kind of themes and story and stuff as to why it's lasted so long. So I'm going to hand it over to him.
Funny enough, I also forgot my notes. Hey, Chris, would you mind grabbing my notebook and Bible off the chair by your piano? That would be super helpful. So it's actually very interesting. When you think of how long this play has gone, you would never realize that this is the show that is the longest running musical. Aha. Fingers and pens and fingers. It's good. Because if somebody was to ask what is the longest running musical in history, people would probably say either Les Miserables or Phantom of the Opera or Lion King, some of these really huge, really flashy Broadway musicals. And so it's really interesting that this very small, low-budget show has lasted so long. And I think a lot of that has to do with the theme and its theatricality, which if we have time, we'll talk about that. This play is done in a very different style than a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical like King and I, or even more contemporary Broadway musicals like Hamilton or Phantom of the Opera, Newsies, Beauty and the Beast. All of those are very different styles than what the Fantastics is. And the style of the Fantastics lends itself to really punching home the themes of the show. So as I said earlier, the show is kind of a coming-of-age story of the two lovers, Matt and Louisa. I almost said Adam and Louisa. It's like, as a director, I have found it so difficult to keep actors' names straight and character names straight. It's very difficult. But anyway, it's a love story between them, but how they mature into adults. So with that, there are a lot of themes that are touched on in the show. Parenting, love, loss, worldliness, desire, imagination, hurt, suffering. There's a whole list. But there's really only one theme that ties everything together. And it's embodied in a lyric that the character El Gallo sings in the very opening song of the show. And the lyric is, "Without a hurt, the heart is hollow." And that influences the entire rest of the play is about that. And when you think about it, this is a very personal, universal theme to all of humanity. We don't always think of it in such ways, but it's everywhere. How many people have heard the cliche, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? Oh, yeah, like everybody has. It's a cliche. It's kind of written in our cultural understanding of life. But the Fantastics takes that and approaches it in a very delicate way, because not only does hurt and suffering and trial and tribulation make you a stronger person, it's not always about strength. It's about being human. And through trial and tribulation, learning how to empathize and be compassionate to other people. And so that is one of the things that makes the Fantastic so compelling, is because it's not about, oh, yes, I'm overcoming tribulations and becoming a better person. It's about becoming a more understanding person, becoming more human. And for us, as Christians, we understand that becoming more human really means becoming more Christ-like. It's becoming the new man and leaving behind the old man. And that is another reason why this theme is so powerful. I'm going to devolve into a story of my own life, which I am wont to do, ask my students. But when I was a student at Calvary, I was taking Romans with Mr. Williamson. Is Mr. Williamson here today? No? Well, he's online. So say hi to Mr. Williamson. Hi. But I was taking Romans class, and at the same time, I was taking playwriting class with Bobby Jeffrey. And it was really fascinating because I don't remember the exact lesson or the day, but in that Romans class, we started talking about trials and tribulations. And that led to just a class discussion about why is there suffering in the world? Is God a good God if he allows suffering? Now, that is a very deep theological, try combining theological and philosophical. It's very interesting. It's a very deep theological discussion, and I'm not going to get into that. You can talk to your theology professors if you want more in that vein. But what was interesting is in that discussion, I realized that at the same time in playwriting class, we were learning a principle of storytelling, which was essentially you have to put your character under extreme trials in order for them to become who they are at the end. The characters only change when placed under extreme pressure and hardship. That's the only way we change. It's a crucible. We are refined through struggle. And so if you take that understanding and you apply that to the world, and you look at the world as a narrative that God is telling, then you understand why there's suffering. We can only become Christ-like through the trials and tribulation. And this show just shows that so well, better than many, many other shows that I've seen. And so there's a couple Bible verses here, if I can get my hands to work properly, that kind of tie right into that. So the first is Romans. That was loud. Romans 5, verses 3 through 4. And it reads, and not only, I can just hold the mic. This is what the mutes do. She's living her role. That's dangerous. Don't get lost in it. Okay, Romans 5, 3 and 4. And not only this, but we also exult in our tribulations, knowing that tribulation brings about perseverance, and perseverance, proven character, and proven character, hope. I'll talk about these verses after I read them all. Then we have 1 Peter 4:12. Beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal among you, which comes upon you for your testing, as though some strange thing were happening to you. These are just a couple singular examples of verses. I can take that now, thank you. Verses in the Bible that show the connection of suffering and growth. At the end of the show, El Gallo has another little speech where he talks about there's a paradox in the world, that we can only grow through suffering. And he gives some examples in nature. Who understands that why spring only comes after the pain of winter? And we're just going to stick with that, which is a really interesting question. And so we could stick with that, but it's so deep because it's written throughout the entire Bible and our Christian life. There's a time for dying and a time for growth, and it's through the dying that we grow again. Another example in nature is after a forest fire, forests can become incredibly overgrown because the fire burning all the organic material leaves behind highly fertile ash, which just really stimulates plant growth. That's another example. Here, in Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 8. I'm not going to read all 8 verses because they're incredibly repetitive, but we'll read enough to get the idea. I got it. Okay. There is an appointed time for everything, and there is a time for every event under heaven, a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up. And we'll just stop there. That was verses 1 through 3, but it goes all the way through 8, giving examples of there's a time in life for everything. And seasons play a very important role. They're actually a very important image in the show, illustrating that time for struggle and a time to bloom. So I could talk on this for another hour, and I really need to stop because we have other things planned for you. Hopefully, if we have time at the end, I'll talk a little bit more. But for right now, I'm going to hand the mic back to the cast, and I have asked the cast to answer 2 questions. What have they most enjoyed about working on the Fantastics, and why you all should come see it? So I'm just going to pass it down if Leah is ready. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I guess my favorite part so far, I mean, it's hard to pick just one, but just kind of like what Kenneth touched on, is just the magic of the show. I feel like it's something that just draws you in, and it makes you really invested in what's going on. You want to know like what's going to happen to all the characters. You feel like this connection to them that I feel like helps you to like experience the things that they're experiencing. You're doing that with them, and you're following along with their story, and it makes it very personal. And I think it just, at least for me, it just helped remind me of just like the magic of theater and like how much joy that can bring people. And I'd say the reason I would encourage people to come see the show is that there's so many like lessons that we can apply to our lives from this show, kind of like what Kenneth said about like hurt and growth through that. It's something that we can experience a lot, and I think that it's something that we see a lot in the show, and that's something that we can take from the show and apply to our lives, and I just think it's really cool.
Yeah. Is this for me or is this for me? What should I be doing? Okay. Yes, what are my questions? The best thing about it. Not the best thing about it, but the thing that I've enjoyed most about Fantastic, basically everything Leah just said, I just like ditto. My favorite thing personally about being part of Fantastics has been like playing a very different role than I usually play. This is like pretty comedic, obviously. And like playing off Ashley, who like, I don't know, we're just vibing. And it's been really fun. And yeah, I think you should come see it because, okay, reason one, we're in it, obviously. I'm kind of kidding, but like, no. No, because your friends are in it, it will be fun to see them be amazing. But also, yeah, second reason, because it is a magical show. Like, there's something just innately theatrical about this. This wouldn't work as a movie. It wouldn't work as a book, and that's what I love. It just really reminds me about the thing that makes theater special from other kinds of art, and it's awesome. But also, like, we've talked about how the show is deep and like beautiful, and it is. But it's also so fun, you guys. Like, it's really funny, and it's the most fun show I've been a part of in a while. And it's just, yeah, it's a good time for us, and I know that will translate to a good time for you.
Okay, so my favorite few parts of the show, I'm gonna do multiple. Obviously the cast. It's just such a tight-knit cast, and everyone plays their part so well. Unlike with Abigail, like, I don't know, there's parts where we can just say each other's lines and it like just flies because we just are like, oh, whatever. And so just the cast make it so great. The crew, you know, like it's just such a cool group of people to be able to, you know, work with. And also late nights, I am a night owl, and so just being with them until like 11:30 at night for like 6 hours, it's just really great because everyone just goes, loosey-goosey and wild and loses it. So that's always one of my favorite parts, is watching everyone just go insane. Reason why you should come, well, it's, like Abigail said, you know, it's such a fun show. It's a different show than what, like, you're gonna come in and you're gonna have no idea what's gonna hit you, and then you're gonna leave and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And it's just like, just the intimate connection between the audience and the characters is so much different than you would have in a Newsies, in a Les Mis, like in a small show like Last 5 Years, my favorite. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be really fun. We have a lot of fun. You guys will too. We hope.
We guarantee.
Hi. I think this is me now. Hello. So some favorite parts of the show. I don't know. It's hard to pick because it's just really fun. Particularly for me, this role has been super interesting because I have done a lot of technical theater and a lot of acting too, but more of what I've done has been, at least lately, is technical. So this role is really nifty because it like splits the line between cast and crew. Also, I don't have any lines to memorize, so like, blessings. It's been amazing. And yeah, sometimes I rub that in, like, oh, I have all my lines memorized and it's the first rehearsal. But yeah, it's just been really fun interacting with the cast, like everything, ditto to everything that's been said. But a smaller cast is always fun because there's less people to interact with and you get to know people better and it's very tight-knit like that. Aside from like the people, some fun things, the mutes get to handle a lot of the props and there's some pretty fun props in here. So that's a fun thing for me. Why should you come? Why should you come? Lots of reasons. They kind of stole what I was gonna say. What I was gonna say was, it's a really nice mix of like good life themes and serious stuff, and also like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. It's really funny. That has already been said. I don't know. What's one of the funniest things funniest things that happens on stage? Gosh. Everything Mike does, yeah. Did he even like, I feel like he made up all of his choreography. Just on the spot.
Just for the people online, I'm going to steal the mic for a second. He did, actually. We got to the one of the songs that he sings with the mothers, actually. And I was like, okay, so we're just going to run it through. This was at the very beginning of rehearsal. We're going to run it through. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Just try something. If anything comes to mind, try it. And Mike went to town. I was like, that's it. We don't need to work on it anymore. He came up with everything.
Yeah, so come because Mike is hilarious. Let's laugh at Mike. I shouldn't have said that. Delete. Also, like the vocals on the musical side, these two voices blend gorgeously, as you can tell. And Rebecca and Adam are also just a pleasure to listen to. So if you're at all musical, like musically minded, not like musical like the theater, come, you'll enjoy it. That's all.
Okay, so probably out of the ditto, definitely about the cast. It's just been so much fun. The past musical I was in was like a ginormous cast, so it was just very big and intimidating. But with all these folks here, it's just been such a blast to do. I love all these people a ton, so definitely ditto that. Another reason is just like I've done a lot of like comedic roles, but like this one's been like the most absurd for me. Oh, by the way, I'm a cast member too. I probably should throw that out there. I play Mortimer. He's one of the absurd actors, as Kenneth said, not just a dramaturg. So I would say that's been just so much fun. It's absolutely funny. Just if you guys want to have a good laugh and you want to see me make a fool of myself, absolutely go for it. But I'd say a reason to go see it as well would be we as actors here. It's so great. The Fantastics is we're calling you to imagine and almost come in and see our kind of sets kind of like an old attic. Like there's a lot of fourth wall breaking and things like that. We're inviting you to participate with us in this show, and I just love that as like I love stories and things like that. It's just the beauty of imagination. It's coming to kind of be a kid again and use your imaginations with us. Is the power of theater is what they've been saying, the magic of theater, of just the way we present things. It's just so fun to look at and just use your imaginations and not to spoil something, but like El Gallo says something like that where he's like, don't use your eyes because they're wise, but imagine with us of what you see, and it's so cool to think about. And just another thing you come see is you can see me as well in like the most crazy costumes. Me and Mary have some great costumes. And I die. Die. No, not right now. No, I'm not going to die right now.
Logan, would you die for us? Do the lion. Do the lion. Okay, so this is completely unplanned, just so you know. But so Logan's character is named Mortimer, which the root of the name Mortimer is mort, which is death. And so Mortimer is an old actor, and he specializes in death scenes. And so he's going to give us a little preview of one of the death scenes that he has created. Why are you back there? Come back up to the downstage. Don't hide. So what was actually fun is that was completely new. I have never seen that death before. So that was a lot of fun. Okay, so we have a few minutes left, and so we wanted to open it up for questions. If you guys have any questions that you have thought of, anything that we've said that got you thinking, or if you have any questions about the sets or about our actors up here and their roles, or anything else like that, please raise your hand and we'll ask a question. And ask your question. We won't ask the question. We'll give the answer. But if you don't ask a question, I'm just going to keep talking. And so if you don't want to hear me, look at all the hands. All right, yes. I'm going to try to sum up that question for the people online. When we put on a musical, do we need to change it, or do we just do it as it's written? Is that essentially? That is essentially the question. Yes and no. Generally, I mean, this gets kind of technical because copyright laws come into effect. So essentially, we need to do it exactly as it is written, but we do have some freedom. For instance, our set is completely our invention. This is not the original set of the show. I asked Callie Weeks to design a set based on different parameters, but still within the same spirit. So what? Kylie Johnson! I knew that! Names, they're hard. Now you completely derailed my train of thought. But the words need to be the same. However, we've gotten permission to change some things because Abigail and Ashley's roles were originally male. They were fathers, not mothers. However, we needed some more female roles, and so we got permission to change the fathers into mothers. And then throughout the script, we just changed anytime we mentioned he or father, we changed it to she and mother. So there's a give and take. Mostly it's the same, but we do have some room to express our own individual creativity. There's a question in the back. You should have gotten an email about comp tickets. And so there's instructions in that email. So if you're eligible for a comp ticket, you should have gotten an email, and I don't remember the exact procedure, but follow the instructions in the email. And if you didn't get the email, talk to Seven Lewis, and we can resend that email out. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, while you're thinking of questions, we're going to talk a little bit more about the set and the style of the show, because we've mentioned that several times in talking. And this style is very different than other Calvary musicals that we've done. This style is very toned down. It's not big, complicated sets. We have designed it to look like it's in an attic, except for our floor, which is a gorgeous painting of astrological charts. There's symbolism in that, but we're not going to talk about that just yet. And so I tend to talk about this style of theater as an as an innately theatrical show. And that's because it's something that only works on a theater stage. It's not something that really works well in film or in books or other media. It runs back, didn't know you're getting a theater history lesson here. There was a director in the 50s named Bertolt Brecht. He was German. He created a style of show which emphasized the fact that this is a fake play. This is not reality. Most plays, they're done in a realistic style. You have a realistic set. Think Arthur Miller when the department did All My Sons several years ago, or even Doubt. Those are very realistic plays. We're trying to represent real life in the sets. We want a real office, a real front porch, or as real looking as possible. Characters behave in realistic ways so that as an audience, we can get drawn in and imagine ourselves in this realistic circumstance, even though it's imaginary. Bertolt Brecht said, no, we're not doing that. We are going to show that this is not real. So a lot of his shows were done with no sets or with the stages actually with bare walls. He would often write the dialogue on a screen instead of just having characters say it. So the audience would be like, what is happening? But to do that, all of that drew attention to what was being said. Because Bertolt Brecht had a lot of political ambitions and a lot of political messages. And so in breaking the audience out of believing that this is a real story or wanting to engage in this imaginary story and live in it, he breaks them out of that, and then you have to think about, well, what's happening? And so he got his audience to think. So this show is done in a very similar style. This is all of our set that you see on the stage, but they are different things. For instance, this picture frame hanging on the back wall, that is our wall. That is a stone wall in the show. And so you have to use your imagination to do that. Esther grabs a couple branches and stands there as a tree. Not at all like a tree. She doesn't look like a tree. But we can accept that she is a tree. And so that's what I mean by it's innately theatrical. But in doing so, we draw attention to the themes and the characters. And so that's one of the reasons why this style works so well and why this same story did not work as a Rodgers and Hammerstein style musical. The message got lost in all of the flash and all of the set. So when you strip it all away to bare essentials, all of a sudden you get a really intimate show that pulls the audience in, not as, hey, look at our imaginary show, but we're pulling you in the experience and the themes so that you can experience them with the cast at the same time. So talked about that. Anybody else think of any more questions? Mike will be singing. And dances, yes. He's been working on some hip movements that are incredibly entertaining to watch. Any other questions? Cool. Yes. Random lines out of context. I think this is Leah and Esther's. Do the mothers have any lines? Oh, I think you do. That was a grin that says I do, but I won't share it.
You'll have to come see them.
Heathen idols. Tipsy Poughkeepsie. That was my best Logan impression. Oh, thanks.
You Aquamaniac! Kleptomaniac!
You're standing in my kumquats. I am standing in the kumquats. Oh my. Garden faux pas. The whole thing is a garden, so I'm just going to give up and I'll compensate you. There's some really good ones. Adam, do you have a line out of context that you can give us real quick? I know, but give it to me and I'll give it to everybody else. That makes sense. I love to taste my tears. Yep, that's a good one.
If I were to describe her, I would be utterly and completely speechless, except to say perhaps that you are the inside of a leaf.
I think that's all we got for now. There's a lot more, a lot of fun dialogue. We're just burnt out and don't remember any of them. Any other questions? Oh, yes. What's the biggest takeaway that we want the audience to walk away with? That is an interesting question. It also skirts a line because I don't really want to dictate that. Because this is one of the things about art, is that when we create art, we do have a message. We have a message that we are saying. But in telling a story, everybody can walk away with something different. And this is one of the things I love about this show, is it has immense rewatchability. So like we've done a lot and incorporated a lot of symbolism into the whole show that when you get to the end, you're going to have, wow, this is what most affected me. This is what I'm taking away from it. But if you come and watch it again, you'll start noticing other details that'll change that first thing you took away, and you'll take away something else another night. And so I don't really want to say it. Probably a safe thing is that connected, our lovers, Matt and Louisa, grow through suffering. And at the end, you can see that growth, and it's really embodied by a care for each other. Because at the beginning, they were very selfish. And so it's through the through line of without a hurt, the heart is hollow, but it's the result of that. It needs to make you a more compassionate individual. So I'll say that. Yes, we have like 4 minutes, 3 minutes. So if you have a question, now's the time. Yes?
With this being your first year at Calvary, why this your first show over any other time?
Because I love this show and I could do what I wanted to do. Our rotation kind of got a little muddy for what we do when we do what we do, because 2 years ago we did, that was Newsies, right? Newsies, and then last year we were supposed to do a play, but it ended up being a musical with one voice, and so this would be our normal rotation for another musical. So I was looking at musicals, but what attracts me to this musical is its size. It's so small. There are 8 cast members, and we added Leah for good measure. So there's only 9 cast members. The set is really small, and so it was technically much more in our reach than the huge musicals, which are a lot of work and a lot of money. But this is just so, the themes are so powerful in the show. That's why I really wanted to do it and share it with you guys in our Calvary community. I was first exposed to this play as an undergrad, and I read the script alone in my dorm room and cried for 15 minutes afterward, because it's an incredibly touching story. And so the power and the theatricality is, and there's a sword fight in it, and I love sword fights. And so it's like, well, if I get to choose what I want to do, this is the story I want to do for the first one, because it's a lot of fun, and it's really touching. It's fun and touching. Last little bit. Well, then here's one more tidbit about the story. Logan mentioned that this play is based on a French play called Les Romanesques, but it also has a lot of Shakespearean influences in it, such as Romeo and Juliet. What is very interesting is Mary Lang's character, Henry, is an old Shakespearean actor. And so that character actually says so many Shakespearean lines. So if you're into like scavenger hunts, try to see how many Shakespeare quotes that are said in this show, because there's a lot, and they're just kind of put in there. And so anybody who loves Shakespeare and poetry would go like, oh, I think that was a Shakespeare quote, but it doesn't actually affect the flow of the story. We also misquote Shakespeare, which is a lot of fun. So see if you can find that. I think we have like 1 minute. Any last things to share? Come.
The rewatchability, you can watch me die in several different ways. Okay. With the rewatchability, like he was saying, not only is it great to find the themes and stuff, but you can see me die in probably a more unique and different way each night. Maybe. We'll see. Just throwing that out there. There's more to come.
There's been arrows. There's been mort to come. There's been arrows and swords and cannonballs and gunfights and now a lion and now a shark. Logan has been very creative in finding ways to die. All right, well, that pretty much wraps it up. We're about at time. So we'll just close in prayer, and you guys can go get your lunch. Thank you for joining us today. All right, so join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this time that we can all come together and learn about the Fantastics performances that's going on, and just about the enjoyment that we can have by partaking in this art form, but also how that art form connects with our Christianity, and how we can use it to supplement your word in affecting our lives and inspiring us to become more Christ-like. We pray that you'll bless this food as the students head off to lunch, and that everybody will have a productive day for the rest of today. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Thank you.